Hey guys, it's Bobby from the GM table, and I got my buddy Dan here. You can introduce yourself because they're going to listen to you.
Hey, how are you guys? Dan Cook from the Drunk GM podcast. So anybody who doesn't know, on Bobby Show listening, check us out. We do a general role-playing show. A lot of Savage Worlds, though, big fan of it, and a little bit of other stuff sprinkled around the edges.
And we got Iran and Aviv, who are the people behind Up to 4 Players, and now the Crystal Hearts Kickstarter, which I'm not going to lie, I backed as soon as I saw it was live. I am so excited for Crystal Hearts. How are you guys doing?
Very good, thank you, and thank you for having us.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, excellent. Very, very happy. We just got funded 2 hours ago.
Yes.
So yes, we are excited.
I think the first thing I've been dying to ask you is what made you guys decide to teach role-playing games through webcomics? Because it's freaking brilliant.
We really enjoy teaching role-playing games. For starters, I mean, that's, I think, our... First of all, I'd like to apologize for my accent, and if anything that I'm saying is unclear, just say so and I will repeat it. Secondly, Aviv, but I think mostly me, has been into the...
Calling.
Calling is probably the right word for it, of explaining role-playing games so more people can join, so we can have more people in the hobby. Because, first of all, it's good for all of us to have more people in the hobby, more people to play with, more voices, etc. And also, it will create some job security for me, seeing as I work in editing and writing for games, and we always need more people. But also, I mean, seriously, we all know that this is the best hobby in the world. We all know it. We just need more people to know it as well. And so I've been doing it a lot, mostly in Israel, for the past 15 years. And also I've been doing webcomic with Aviv. And I think that when we started doing Up to 4 Players as a board game, 1 joke per week thing, it was fun and all. But eventually we were naturally drawn to, let's use this thing to get more people into role-playing games. I think it happened when we actually decided to do a short adventure sort of thing during those early days, and we knew that our audience is only board game people. No one knew role-playing games, so we wanted to show them some role-playing games. And Aviv invented a whole new language, visual language, to explain this in short strips. And we also had to explain the rules, because they are board game people. They have no idea how role-playing goes. And we chose Star Wars Edge of the Empire, which is... It has its own... I mean, lovely dice, really. So we had to explain all of that. And that was probably what pushed us toward this direction going forward.
Yeah.
No, I totally get it. I really appreciate and respect you guys for doing that. I'm one of the big proponents of we need to look at the hobby at large. We need to bring in as many people. I'm always for growing the hobby. I've run so many games of just, oh, you've never gamed? Then show up here because I'm going to help you do it. And we're going to have some fun. I'm going to show you how cool this is.
Yeah, I mean, anyone who doesn't like role-playing games just probably hasn't tried it yet, or just hasn't tried right once for them.
That's exactly how I feel. There's such a spread. Because, like, my wife is actually a perfect example of that. She went to school for biology. She's a very logically minded person. She's a very scientific person. She doesn't really like fantasy as a genre. She's not huge on sci-fi. And then I showed her modern horror. And she's like, wait, I can do that. I can grasp this. This is every day. This is all the stuff I relate. So if I just want to do something I could do, I'd say that. Yeah, you don't need to stretch all of those faculties not everybody has. Not everybody's inclined to talk about elves and dwarves. And I'm so happy it's spread to go, no, you can be a bunch of kids. It's still going to be fun.
Moving back to the webcomic, I'd like to thank you because I found the webcomic very early after finding Savage Worlds, and I thought it was just absolutely great when I was still learning the rules and seeing, the setting. And I wonder, did you have people ever contacting you and telling you they were running the setting before you had written it? adapting it on their own. Because I imagine somebody out there was playing it. There was a lot of background for people to work off of. So I wonder if you ever heard that from anybody.
There is one group called Wandering Gamer Network, and before we actually released the starter set and before we went to Kickstarter with the setting book, there were some. Eran has started working on something. He had documents, started compiling things to start working the system behind this game. And they approached us and kind of asked if there is anything, because they really wanted to play it on their actual play podcast. So Eran shared some really early stuff with them. I think actually the first adventure that they ran is a slightly early version of the adventure that we have in the starter set. So that was really exciting to see people who don't really have a finished version of the rules, but who are just really excited about this setting and about the webcomic and just want to play it already.
I especially like that they weren't into Savage Worlds before that. This was the first Savage Worlds game that they ran. So awesome. Because we were really hoping to reach out not just to people that like Savage Worlds, but almost the other way around. Almost specifically to people who don't even know the system or they don't care about the system, which is why we explained the whole thing, the whole set of rules during the first two, actually. Story.
I was actually wondering, are any of those explanation panels from the comic going to make it into the book? Because some of those are just such great teaching tools.
No, we're not teaching you Savage Worlds in the book. You should read Savage Worlds to play the book.
I fully agree.
We don't. I don't think we'll even have any comics. Maybe just a little bit here and there, something like. I mean, this is a book for playing. It's a different thing from a webcomic. So we're going to approach it in a different way.
That's actually great. Knowing your medium is a big deal when it comes to this. So honestly, like on one hand, I would have been super psyched to see those couple pages are there because they're just perfect for getting people in. But I appreciate going, because space is so limited. That's awesome.
We even decided not to go with the characters from the webcomic. I mean, you might see them here and there in the book, but we created a whole set of new 5 characters that we'll use as sort of iconic characters that we'll be reusing throughout the book because we want to separate. I mean, we don't want to separate concept-wise, but we want to separate the story from the game. They each have their own place.
Yep.
I noticed that right away, and that's always a really smart move because then you don't have people going, well, in the comic it said this. And no, have your own stories. Go tell your own tales.
Exactly.
Is the book going to contain a plot point? Are we going to see other adventures in the book?
Well, we are really big on adventures. I am a huge proponent of 50 Fathoms. I really like it. I've been running it for Aviv and our group for the past maybe a year almost. And I really like how that book is arranged and how much it gives you in so few pages. So that's a big inspiration for how we are writing Crystal Heart. We'll have a lot of interesting bits about the lands. That is, things that you can use to have adventures with. Not names of politicians or stuff, or historic dates. I mean, it's going to be the sort of thing where you open a page in the Atlas or whatever, and you find something interesting to run. And also a plot campaign, yes. Probably 10 adventures, something like that, yes.
Amazing.
I don't really get how you get a Savage World book without a plot point campaign.
Well, it's hilarious you bring up 50 Fathoms because that's what Dan's actually running on his channel right now that I'm in. So, we're having a blast with that. It's a good foundation.
It's very exciting to hear that you're drawing from that sort of model too, because it is really a brilliant setup. A lot of, like you said, a lot of small things to work off of to build up your own adventures, which is what most GMs are going to be doing anyways. So.
I think Savage Worlds really calls for it. I mean, it's a system that you will want to take and tweak and make your own stories in it and whatever. It's not that plot points are... Well, actually it is. I think plot points are very different in the way they are built from campaigns for D&D, for example. And I think it's because of the mechanics of Savage Worlds. It makes you as a GM play in a specific way.
Oh yeah, I totally get that. And you can see the ones when you open a third-party Savage Worlds book and they just wrote their adventures like it was D&D, and you just immediately go, yeah, this doesn't really fit. So it's great when you see the difference and understand it, because not every adventure is written the same way for good reason.
Yes. Yes.
I was actually curious to something, because I was rereading the starter set last night, trying to not make a fool of myself. And I'm curious about the power stunts in it. I know it's pulled right from the Supers Companion. Are those going to be tweaked any for the new edition's rules? Dan and I have been privy to those, so we know some of the things that are changing and how that affects. I know we're limited on what we can say, but
I've not done what to say a lot as well, but several parts of the starter set are now obsolete because they are part of the basic rules. So that's awesome. That leaves more room in the book for other stuff. It's really good. I really like that thing that is happening, but also it also means it gives them us some room to maybe create some new stuff that we were sort of experimenting with. But the basic idea is still,
no. As soon as I read that, I was like, well, I could tell it was written before you probably had gotten it, because I looked and I was like, this is great. I think I know the answer, but I figure I'm going to ask because not everybody is aware. Amazing stuff, guys. I mean, how does it feel to actually, Savage Worlds lives on Kickstarter for its third party, for its first party. You guys are the first post-adventure edition Kickstarter. You're technically the first Suede third-party product.
The first kickstarted, not necessarily the first produced.
Yes, fair enough.
Yes, it's going to take some time until we actually finish this, because it's not a pre-sale. We don't. There's no book.
Yeah.
Yes. We are literally kickstarting something, and it wouldn't have happened unless it got funded. So it will take some time to create this, mostly because of art.
Hey,
it's better to be done right than done fast.
Yeah, true.
So
we actually got some complaints that we started so soon after Suede, because many people just invested money in Suede and they don't have the money to invest in us, and that's fair. Yeah. But we didn't know about Suede when we decided on doing it around last quarter of 2018, and when we did know about it, we obviously decided to do it afterward, and we obviously can do it in the end of December because no one will be looking at anything on the internet around that time. So it's now.
Yeah,
we didn't want to wait anymore, and that's fine.
We do enjoy a lot of support from the guys at Pinnacle, which has been amazing. We actually got our ACE label, our licensee, from them. They read the comic and they were really excited about having a webcomic that explains the rules to their game, because why wouldn't they be? And they gave us the license and said, hey, we'll just put you on the main page of our website so people can learn the rules as they read your comic. And that's awesome. They've been really, really great. And they've actually just at the start of this week, just after their campaign ended, they said, hey, look at this campaign that's about to start very soon. So they've been really great about it.
Yeah. Dan, it sounded like you were about to ask something.
Yeah, well, he had mentioned the art, so I was going to ask, Aviv, are you doing all of the artwork for this upcoming book, or are you working with other artists? Because if I am correct, you did all of the art on the webcomic.
That is correct.
Great, distinct style, and I know the I can't think of the name. The Quick Start rules have that same style. They look amazing. So I was just wondering, with the upcoming full-length book, will that all be done by you?
Thank you very much, first of all. And yes, that's the plan. A lot of the funding for the main goal that we had and the stretch goal that we just opened up for more art, all of that is basically so that I can take a month or 2 months or more than that if necessary off of doing anything else and just investing all my time in the book. And I really want to be able to do that because we have great plans for the book as far as visuals go.
Excellent. That's awesome. I'm super excited about that in particular. I think art really sells a book.
I agree.
Oh, I, as a game designer, have so much luck having a graphic designer in-house.
Artist, not a graphic designer.
Also a graphic designer. You also designed how the Kickstarter page looks. You also designed the website. That's so powerful and also very, very useful, because any small changes you want to make, anything you want, anything from the vision scale that you want to turn into specifics, you have an artist to work with. That's brilliant.
Yeah, as two people who do in-house work solo, yeah, we wish we had something like that. It would be so great.
So I'm quite lucky and I'm aware of it.
Yeah, I mean, if the quick start rules are any indication, this is going to be a gorgeous book. Because as Dan said, those rules, like the art in there is so good. And you could tell it wasn't just repurposed, because I know how easy it is and how many publishers take that shortcut of, well, we got all this art in the stables, we're just going to repurpose it. And it looks like you really took the time to bring something new to it, even for a free quick start product.
I wish I could repurpose stuff, but if it's not perfect for its purpose, I just can't. I can't bring myself to use it.
Well, that's fine. That's called having standards, and nobody has a problem with that.
Aviv has a problem with it, I think. Aviv is problematic. We're hoping to have an adventure deck and an action deck. So let's say the action deck is all new art. An adventure deck has like 54 cards, each of them with its own art. I'm hoping we can repurpose some art for that thing at least.
Yes.
And not create all of those. But that's the only thing Aviv allows currently.
Oh man, I hope you guys get an adventure deck. I would love to see a Crystal Hearts adventure deck.
Me too.
Completely so. Yeah.
I didn't even know that was possibly on the table. Now I'm just like biting at the bit.
It's one of the. I mean, it's going to take some effort to get there, but we really want it. Yes.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the beautiful things with your guys' product, in all honesty, since you have that comic that teaches it, is, at least me personally, I can go to people who I think would like the same, who might not even like Savage Worlds, be like, check this out. And they're like, well, but I don't know. And I literally just show them the comic, be like, this isn't the game, but this teaches you what the mechanics you're going to be talking about. Here's an overhaul of the art style. I'll give them like the teaching ones, and then I'll show them a couple Crystal Heart ones and go, and here's the world. You now know way more. You can have way more informed customers than I think just about any Kickstarter when it comes to a game world.
Our starter sets, we try to push the starter set. It's like the first thing on the Kickstarter, because first of all, we think it shows you everything you need, and also it's a way for you to play. It has everything you need to play. So it's go ahead and play, have fun. We want to convince you to invest in the Kickstarter because you think it's fun and you had adventures with the starter set, etc. But also in the starter set, we also obviously included the 2-sheet explanation of how to play. Because, sure, of course. Yeah. There's an amazing thing in the Reddit for Savage Worlds. 2 people wrote and replied for the announcement link for the Kickstarter that this is how they learn to play Savage Worlds. And
yeah, in all honesty, I fully accredit the YouTube channel Game Geeks that introduced me to Savage Worlds. But I was having trouble grasping it at first, and your guys' comic was where I was like, got it.
Awesome.
Like it laid the foundation enough. Where now I'm the guy teaching people Savage Worlds.
Yeah. the hardest thing probably was toughness. Explaining toughness and what's shaken is. I mean, it took me a lot of time to understand it. Coming from D&D, obviously. I mean, okay, damage is a number. I reduce it for my hit points. No, it needs to pass a specific other number, and then you're not wounded. You are shaken. That takes some time to understand. I think we separated a page into 2 pages just to make sure I mean, originally in the original script, it was 1 page, and then no, it has to be 2 pages. It has to be clear. This is an important distinction, and it's hard for people to understand it. But it's an important part of the game. I think it's really, it's one of the things that I really like about Savage Worlds, how toughness works, how damage works.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those, as someone who had to worry about teaching people, it's one of those, once you're playing, you're like, oh, this is so easy, it's so smooth, but then you go and you break it down, you're like, wow, there are a lot of parts to this game I'm just doing and didn't think about because now I know them. So when you go back to teach, you're like, okay, yeah, I got to cover a lot of ground here.
Yeah, and when you need to do that in 2 pages of comics, it's like, I mean, Eran's work is really, really crucial to making it a good comic, because just breaking down all the rules and then figuring out what's important enough to include in this really short primer and how to use as few words as possible, but to make it super clear and super to let it have a good flow, because we're not just explaining rules, we're showing people playing. It's almost an actual play, only in comic form and really, really short.
Oh, it is. And honestly, I think you're giving yourself a little short on the stick, Aviv, because the art conveys the motion and the actual act of it through. I mean, nothing against Eran's stuff too. I think it's that beautiful meshing of, it was concised so well, but the visual is how you fit so much information in such a small piece. It's amazing. Honestly, in groups and stuff, very often I see people are like, well, what if I change this? Is it still Savage Worlds? And there's things about, how much of the game changes and it's still the game. I think people could just look at your primer. If it's in your primer, it's Savage Worlds. If you take things out of that primer, it's kind of not, because you guys hit all the base corners.
Are you thinking about things that you can...
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out if there's anything.
Trying to break it.
Yeah.
I mean, if it doesn't have toughness, it's not Savage Worlds. If you're not using cards for initiative, it's not Savage Worlds. Like, it's actually a much shorter list of the things that are like, well, no, if you take that out, then you're just playing something else. Because there's games that have a lot of these, except 1 or 2 things.
There's a thing, now that there's a new edition, of course, we were wondering if we need to update it. And generally speaking, we don't. A lot of because we've discussed so many basic things and didn't get into a lot of details, the 2-page explanation still works with the new edition. Except for, for example, bennies, because bennies do a lot more now, and it's important things. They do important things. So we're not getting to read it anytime soon. We have way too much stuff. But just so you know, people at home, if you're reading it, there are more things you can do with bennies. Go and read the full book.
Yeah. But I will say, what is covered in bennies is kind of the staple. There's a lot more you can do, but all those are more complex things, without revealing, the PowerPoints things. If it's a game without PowerPoints, it's a null and void thing.
Yeah.
The card thing's really nice, but that's kind of really advanced play stuff. So I think your thing is still perfect for a beginner's guide. They're not going to need that whole list anyways.
Yes. Good point.
So I'd like to talk a little bit about the actual Kickstarter campaign, what that's been like getting started, and now that you're funded, which is awesome news. And I'd like to say that I officially feel the pain of all of the people in Europe and other parts of the world who have been trying to back things and pay shipping costs now that we are shipping it to America. But so how is that getting it started? And I mean, it hasn't been very long. How many days was it until it funded officially?
23 hours, I think it was.
Okay, see, I thought it was closer to 2 days, but I guess not. That's
awesome. We started it about 25 hours before now. I mean, I'm something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you get to put a nice less than symbol before days.
But I think that, well, obviously the Kickstarter started months back. Actually, in a way, it's so much work behind the scenes, and we have to talk about Amit Moshe, our producer, who is the third part of this. He's not here in talking with us, but he's behind the scenes all the time. We have a hangout open with him all the time. He's so important. He was the one that decided we were doing it in the UK and not the US.
So it's his fault.
Yes.
We should mention it's Amit Moshe from City of Mist.
Yeah, I was just double checking because I'm like, there could be more than one person named Amit. He is great. I've contacted. He was one of the first people that like officially supported the channel. I have a lot of love for Amit.
We have a lot of appreciation for him.
Yes,
Yeah.
he's great as a person and amazing as a Kickstarter producer. Like he knows things that I don't. What? He's built such beautiful spreadsheets for us. Oh. I'm sorry. That's
Also,
very
there's
nerdy.
other things he can make that are beautiful than that book.
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So I saw that.
Anything else you got, Dan? I've been running my mouth a lot. So.
No, that's okay. Well, just with the Kickstarter itself, I really liked some of the pledge levels and some of the extras that were being given out. I think they were a little on the less traditional side, but I thought they were really great for Crystal Hearts. So you guys have a dice tray with some of the artwork featured on it, and there was some sticker sets and some. Was there anything else that I'm missing, or do you want to talk a little bit about the decision to include more of the art-based stuff?
So the one thing I think you missed was the comic books, and that's actually the cool thing about not just coming to Kickstarter out of the blue, but having more than a year, almost 2 years of comics behind us. We've already created this stuff. I mean, we've been selling the first 2 chapters in print form in conventions in the UK. We've recently produced those nice dice trays that I'm really excited about. So it's not just stuff we came up with just for the Kickstarter. It's things that we saw people are interested in, and we finally have an opportunity to bring it to them, even if they live on the other side of the world from us. Because up until now, people were approaching us saying, hey, can I get your comic books, your printed books? And it was like, sure, if you want to pay 3 times the price of the book in shipping, or if you want to, purchase a plane ticket and see us in the UK. But now that we're already shipping stuff all over the world, adding those books or adding the dice trays, sticker sheets, hopefully some other stuff that will unlock. It's natural, and I'm really happy that we get to do that.
So, for example, we were approached and asked if we can do a T-shirt. Well, yes, we can probably do a T-shirt, and we have some pretty cool designs for T-shirts. But the logistics behind it is it worth it? I mean, it might be when we reach specific stretch goals, but for now, we just have all of this stuff already. We have the comic books. I have one right here. Hey! We have the dice trays because we wanted to go to conventions and be at conventions, and just standing behind a table with nothing on it was stupid. So we had to create some stuff. And we've been for 4 conventions this past year, and it was brilliant. And I think it was one of the things that really convinced us to do the Kickstarter.
Yeah.
Dang it, Dan. It sounds like our next year of convention is going to get more expensive. We got to go to the UK. We're going to have to put that on top of all these US conventions we're planning.
Critical Role finally came here, so if they came, you can follow suit.
Yeah, if I had Critical Role money, I'd be there right now. We'd be in a nice studio having this interview. But no, that's great. And I love when I hear people doing Kickstarters and stuff no, that's stuff we already have, because so many people forget, I wish you did this. I wish you did that. That's all stuff that adds to the production time.
Yes.
By doing it that way, you guys can focus on the book, and we can get that core experience. And that's just great. That means you get to put more of your heart and soul into it. And I like that.
Absolutely.
We're trying to be as realistic as we can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
it's a good idea. I do want to say, because we haven't really talked about it, your guys' Kickstarter is very reasonably priced. And I very much appreciate. Yeah.
Okay.
Even with the conversion to US, 19 for the digital is cheap. Me and Dad can rant about some other Kickstarters that have had pricing issues, but that's not bad, especially when we're dealing with conversion rates and everything. It's a good price. I'm going to be real honest. I only went in for the digital because, like Dan said, the shipping. If I get some more cash in my pockets after the holidays, I'll be upping it for sure because I'm excited for this. But your guys' prices are really, really reasonable, especially for people on a first Kickstarter. Because I've seen a lot of them where they think, well, my stuff's worth all like $25 for a digital only copy that's maybe a $20 book, and you guys are doing it £15. That's not bad. I think me and a lot of the other gamers appreciate that, especially post Sway.
That's good to hear. I think a lot of it is also a meet, just
crunching the numbers.
Yes, there was a lot of number crunching. But yeah, I'm happy to hear that. I hope the shipping doesn't scare too many people away, because I know it's hard. But that's good to hear. That at least the PDF price.
As people who run in odd time zones for this country, I can tell you, Savage Worlds is one of those where you guys are going to be fine. You're going to have plenty on your side of the ocean begging for this. I'll do what I can for it. Savage Worlds has such a great international community. It's one of those things I love about it.
I mean, gamers live to spend money on games anyway, so I wouldn't worry too much about that.
That's true.
Well, we got funded, so awesome, sure, yeah.
Yeah, and I personally am excited to see some of the stretch goals that come up, because since we're so early, I know that we're going to be continuing to fund, and some more great things are going to come. That's really exciting.
Really hope so.
Yeah, well, our first stretch goals and some of the following ones, if we get to them, is PDFs by new creators. We reached out throughout the interwebs a few weeks back and collected some pitches. And we especially went for... We didn't approach any of the big names and ask them to write for us. We just went out in, everyone who reads this, send us your pitch. And then had to sift through them. And we got some excellent stuff. So we'll be showing off some of those, hopefully, if we get to all of them one by one. I really like it. And we were approached with several other... After we announced we are doing pitches, during the Kickstarter, we were approached by several people that asked us if they can again send pitches and maybe write some more. Because, well, it's open for everyone, apparently, so everyone can apply. And I'm super into that. I would love for more people to write more stuff about Crystal Heart. I'm the only person who's been doing it so far, and that's nice. But there are other people, and I would like to see what they do. So I don't know if we'll be able to fund all of them, because we want to fund some other stuff in the Kickstarter. But this is a call for people outside the world. If we finish the Kickstarter and things are still... and we haven't done all of the PDFs that everyone always wanted, you are more than welcome to approach me with your suggestions. And maybe I can find some other way to fund these and make them. More one-shots. Awesome. More one-shots for everyone.
Yes.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah, the art of the one sheet is amazing.
Yep.
Oh, excuse me.
So we haven't talked too much about the game mechanics themselves. And so there is something really exciting about Crystal Hearts, and that is the Crystal Hearts. So for people that might be listening who aren't very familiar, may have read a little bit of it or have been hearing all the conversation coming up. As far as I can tell, that is the big thing with this setting. That's the big whammy. So if you want to talk a little bit about that I think that would be great.
So Crystal Hearts. Most people in this world are born with a heart made of stone. That's just how the world is. And the Sin organization, and you as player characters are part of that organization, has figured out a way to basically surgically remove your heart and implant something called a harness. And into that harness, you can fit in different crystals. And those crystals, they give you powers they also change your personality. And the way that works, and Iran, feel free to correct me on the actual mechanics here, each crystal has a theme. The theme is just a general description of what that crystal is all about. It can be controlling light and shadow. It can be making bubbles. It can be sensing the thoughts of people around you. Attached to that theme or to the crystal is a set of several powers. The basic power is something that is always on. So it could be something like increasing one of your attributes or one of your skills. If it's, for example, the wolf spoon crystal from the starter set increases your strength die, if I remember correctly.
Yep.
Just makes you stronger because you have the heart of basically a wolf thing now. And in addition to those powers and the number of powers and the specificity of the powers, all of that together kind of defines if that crystal is a novice rank crystal or any higher rank. Not necessarily more powers means better crystal, but I'm sure Ran can talk more about that. I'm not sure how the mechanics exactly work on creating crystals. And in addition to that, every crystal also has a disposition, the way it affects your personality. It's often a hindrance, usually a mental one. So what does that crystal do to your mind to change your thought pattern in a way? Or it can sometimes be physical even. It might be weird if a crystal suddenly makes you lose a leg, but maybe if a really strong crystal that controls light and shadow could make you blind or reduce your eyesight in some way. I think that's the main. Have I missed something important about crystals?
No, that's basically it. There's only one. You know it very well. There's only one additional thing. It's called the casual use. For each of the crystals, we also mention what sort of thing you can do with this crystal in you that doesn't require roll of the die. So if you want to activate a power, that's usually you need to roll crystal channeling, and there's a modifier, and you get the result, etc. But you have superpowers. You can do stuff without rolling the dice. So, for example, the crystal that allows you to intercept brainwaves from other people and thus read minds, it allows you to read the mind of a chicken without rolling the die. I mean, you can understand the thought patterns of animals around you without rolling the die. Unless you want to go deeper, maybe, and read the memories, and then you need to actually roll something, I guess. The thing is, when you want to activate a power that you don't have, like mind memory reading for a chicken, you will need to spend a penny, and then you can use the power. That's a basic thing, I think, from Superpower Companion, previous edition. And that's, I think, a basic thing in this one. Even if not, it's a basic thing in Crystal Heart. So as long as it fits the theme, you can try to do it. And what I really like is, if you failed only because of the inherent penalty, every power has an inherent penalty. It's usually -1, maybe -2. If you failed because of that, you still succeeded. You just got tired. It's called a tiring success. You get to one level of fatigue, but you still made it. That's, we think, really anime-like. You work so hard and you can do it, you can do it. And then you are super tired, but you did it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I loved that mechanic when I read it because it makes such perfect sense that, well, I only failed because of the penalties that it's too tiring and draining. So I actually succeeded, but I'm tired and drained because of the exact penalties that caused it. I mean, just like many things in Savage Worlds, it's so simple but elegant, and it fits the feel. I also think, in all honesty, first of all, I think Crystal Hearts is probably one of the most Savage Worlds feeling settings I've seen that isn't made by Pinnacle, because it's such a classic thing with like that Pinnacle twist. It's fantasy with the twist. And then I'm honestly going to be using this to teach anybody who doesn't understand trappings. Because when I started reading it, I was like, crystals are like the manifestation of the concept of trappings in Savage Worlds.
Completely true. On previous iteration, crystal had several powers, and each of the powers had a trapping. And then I realized this is not how you do it. The crystal should have the trapping. That's where Vim came from. And yes, that is literally just trappings. And you need to consider what works and what doesn't work with each crystal when you use it. And there's a suggestion in the book for discussing this with your GM, so you both understand the theme the same way. Because themes are usually one sentence, maybe two, but it's important that the GM and the player has understanding, because now you both know what the trappings are, and now you can create new stuff with it.
Oh, I'm so happy to hear that that's going to be in the book, because I saw in the Kickstarter there's going to be some talking about making your own crystals and stuff. And I'm this is going to kind of be the guidebook for teaching people trappings, and that's going to be amazing. I'm not trying to put too much pressure on you, but already I can show people pre-made crystals and be like, this is how you can put things in a theme. And a theme is just a trapping by another name.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, love it. I think it's great. And I love the fact that it borrows on supers, because I've been chewing Bobby's ear off about it lately, that supers is so underrepresented, at least and it's really exciting to see a new setting coming out that's using that portion of the rules and really bringing it in what looks like a really exciting and well applied way.
We'll be avoiding actual rules from supers because it's private edition, and also because we want everyone to be approachable. So if you don't have supers, you can still use it. That being said, I do want to have an extra PDF with some extra crystals or something like that, or extra suggestions for using powers from the super companion in addition, because they have some awesome powers there, and I would hate to miss them. So we have to create some of them ourselves, probably, in some variation, and we'll have to do it outside of the book, maybe in some way. We'll see.
Yeah, no, that's it.
Go ahead, Bob.
I was just going to say, that's great. Again, me and Dan's griping. I'm happy to hear someone who went, we could have it use a companion, but why would we make people buy extra books?
Yeah.
I think that would be a great supplement to have with it, though, is just a collection of the hearts, the crystals. Because you wouldn't need it. It wouldn't be required to play the game, but people who wanted it, who didn't want to build their own, or just wanted to see sort of where the people who are writing the game's headspace is, to even draw more inspiration. I think that would be a great product down the line, of course.
Yeah, it's a perfect setting for companions like that, which is great, because you say something like it doesn't feel superfluous, but it doesn't feel like you're punished for not having it, which is like that weird sweet spot.
Yeah, well, that's where we're aiming, basically. Yes.
So I got to ask, where did the idea for the Crystal Hearts setting come from? Because it's such a cool setting.
Like all good settings, it didn't come from a mind of one person, but 5. It was about 15 years ago. When Aviv, I think it was like her second role-playing game ever, or maybe the third. And the group of us sat down, and I came up with the idea of having a stone instead of hearts, because of 2 reasons. First, there's a song in Hebrew with that line. There are stones with heart of man and men with heart of stone, something like that. And I said, yeah, okay, sure, that sounds cool. And second, because we watched a lot of Naruto at the time. A lot of Naruto. And anime is awesome. And anime has a lot of strange worlds. It's a thing they really like there, apparently. Every anime has its own unique setting with unique rules and unique magic. And on occasion, they have strange physical properties, like people in this world all have stones instead of hearts. It's just a thing. And I found it weird, but interesting. And I came with this idea, and Aviv and 3 of our friends, Ben, Gil, and Roy, helped us, all 5 of us sat together and gave suggestions of how to make this into a campaign that we will then play. And the first iteration was weird, but it already had Sin as the organization we work for, and we don't know what they want or why they have these powers or what. I mean, Sin was always the thing that we have to work for because that's the definition of being a player character, but no one actually knows a lot about it. And that's awesome. I really like it. I don't know who came up with it, but it's awesome.
Yeah, I think that answers another one of my questions of in the plot point. Do we ever find out what's up with Cian?
No.
Do we ever find out why animals have flesh hearts?
I give 4 or 5 explanations about what's the deal with Sin. Possible explanation. You choose which of them you want. None of them will be the canonical one.
In the comic.
In the comic.
Yeah.
The comics will have the canonical answer of what's going on. And about Flesh Hearts, no, I don't plan on touching it at all in the book because that's a webcomic thing. That's the thing that, yes, we should talk about it there probably.
No, that's fine. I love multiple options in the GM picks. Did Amit offer that? Because it's in City of Mist too. And when I got to it in City of Mist, I'm like, oh, thank you. This means if a player reads the book, they still don't know.
No, that actually came a lot way before we even approached it because we had to come up with a solution for what to do. Okay, the webcomic is still ongoing. When the book will be out, the webcomic won't be revealing everything it should reveal for a full, complete book. So the book will have to contend with not providing the ultimate solutions. It should therefore provide several solutions that are all viable in some way, so you can have fun, even if it's not the true way to have fun. I mean, it doesn't really matter after all. As long as all of them are cool, it doesn't matter which one of them works in the webcomic. Later on, we'll maybe release something like a PDF with an explanation and rules for what's going on in the webcomic.
Nice. No, I love that. And hey, we have the people from the comics saying there is no wrong way to do it in the game.
Oh, no.
So once it's released and you get the inevitable people online going, but the comic said that, we're allowed. All right, everybody.
In order to avoid that completely, we are not providing character sheets for any of the characters from the webcomic, for example. I mean, they have character sheets. Move. But we're not saying that this character has this and this and this, because then people will call on us on it when later on we'll do something differently because of story reasons.
Yeah. Yeah, they live in webcomic story world, and then there's game story world. And while they're very similar, narrative rules are different than game rules. I fully get that, and I think it's a smart move.
Completely true. Thank you. We hope it will work. Everything will work eventually.
I came from a screenwriting background, so I fully get the whole, you need to have these rules separately. Yeah.
Everything works differently.
Another mechanic I thought was really cool, and correct me if I get it wrong, because I breezed through it pretty quickly. But you work for Sin, and you're sort of like contracted with them as a PC, but then eventually you can like buy yourself out. Is it through an edge, or does it just happen at a certain rank and you kind of let the players off the reins?
It just happens. I think when you become veteran, you become free agent. The thing, or you have the option of becoming a free agent. The thing is that we think there's a proper way to play Crystal Heart. You can do it however you want, but we suggest a specific format for your campaign. You begin with going through 1, 2, 3 adventures one by one. Like in the webcomic, Sin gives you a route and you have to follow the route. And you have to explore a route, I don't know. And you have to explore along the way any rumor you have for any crystals around. Then throughout this route, you will slowly start to discover clues about something going on. That specific thing will be relevant to your GM, your plot campaign, whatever. What's happening with us is that you're slowly starting to discover the real deal about the entire world, because that's a webcomic, that's the main story. But in yours, it will be something else. And then when you become seasoned and veteran, you become probably specialist, which means Sin sends you to do specific things. They again have to do with the ongoing plot. And then when you become a free agent, you are free to do whatever you want. And you will probably want to do something with the ongoing plot. eventually culminating with a fight against a villain in some exotic location, having lots of fun as a heroic. And we don't imagine people becoming legendary in Crystal Hearts.
Okay.
It's not the scale. We don't think it fits the scale of the rest of the setting. You won't see a lot of legendary villains around.
No, that's great. Understanding your scale and your scope is actually really important. Is the book going to have like tips and stuff for that kind of story structure?
Yes,
adventure.
yes.
Oh, thank you. I love that kind of stuff.
I hope we have something technical, mechanical that I can actually provide. But if not, then at least I don't know if there is something that can be created for such a thing. But even if not, we will give the full details and suggestions on how to do this. How long your campaign we imagine. I mean, about 10 adventures. That's how we imagine a campaign. And then you should end and start a new one. Or maybe go play something else. You've played Crystal Heart.
Yeah.
Go do whatever you want. But this is the Crystal Heart experience that we envision. And we will try to provide you with everything we can to make sure that you go through it as smoothly as you can.
Amazing. I love hearing stuff like that. I think I'm not going to lie, and I'm probably going to get some slack from some people watching. I think there's too much of an emphasis on we need a game that never ends, that goes forever. Having endings is so important.
I agree. I think that maybe it's the way that we create stuff, but Aviv and I, when we started the webcomic, there's obviously going to be an ending for the narrative. It's going to end someday. And then we'll do something else. And that's how I think many, many gaming groups handle their games. We are playing X and Y, and eventually we'll end and we'll play something else. So I think that our book should fit that. And I am all for this design platform.
Yeah.
Scheme.
Philosophy.
Philosophy, that's the word I was looking for. Thank you.
No problem.
I think that the other philosophy of here's everything you need to play forever. It's cool. It's nice. It's fun. It's excellent. I'm not sure it works with Savage Worlds that well. I think Savage Worlds is for more precise and eventually ending experience.
No, that is great. This sounds awesome. Anything else you want to ask, Dan? I think there were questions I didn't ask because they got answered in other questions. So.
Yeah, I think we've covered quite a bit. I can't think of everything on top of my head. That had everything I had prepped at least. And
no, it's been really great talking with you guys. Any other plugs you guys want to do? I mean, we're also coming up on an hour. I don't want to keep you all day.
Well, the only plug is the Kickstarter itself, which you can, if you look for Crystal Heart on Kickstarter, you'll find us, or you can go to up4players.com/crystalheart and it'll redirect you to the Kickstarter page. You can also find us on Twitter, Facebook, Google Plus, as long as it's still there, Instagram, Reddit, everywhere. Just look for Up4Players. And personally, I'm on Twitter as at Aviv Or.
And I'm as well at NNESK.
I also believe you're on MeWe already, aren't you?
Yes, I am on MeWe. Yeah,
I think you're on my friends list.
Probably, yeah. I don't. I mean, if that's where we're going because G Plus is ending, then sure, that's where we'll go. But I don't.
Yeah, it's where the signs seem to be pointing.
Apparently, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
For now.
Right.
Sure. We'll be
Yeah.
there.
But
another thing.
Oh, sorry, Dan.
I'd like to add one more thing that I just remembered as you guys were on the Kickstarter page. There's a link to a video of you guys playing Crystal Hearts. Very cool. I watched it yesterday, and anybody who wants to see a little bit about the flavor of the game, you can't get better example than the people who are creating it. So check that out. That was awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
Oh,
Thank you.
I will also add one thing because I meant to bring it up and not. I fully respect you guys for this. If you don't even have anything for Savage Worlds, you maybe heard about test drives or anything. If you download their starter guide on the Kickstarter, it has a link to a test drive, which is free. Savage Worlds rules. There, I got it out. And with that, like, I so appreciate you guys putting that in your quick start because it means you can have the whole experience to get a taste for it for free.
Yeah,
for
sure.
absolutely nothing. So if you're a Crystal Hearts fan and somehow didn't hear about this, that we know webcomics people drop in and out, and you caught this on YouTube, go check that out. And as we said, my buddy here, Dan, drunk DM. I keep wanting to say GM because of my channel.
GM.
I mean, yeah.
No, GM.
Oh, is it GM? I always thought it was D to go with the drunk. But
No.
alliteration's not your thing. Okay. But we got.
I just don't play D&D anymore, Bobby.
Yeah,
That's fair. I do it because I'm paid to do it. But we got Dan on the Drunk GM on the podcast if you're watching this on YouTube. And Dan, I know you're nice enough to have me on your podcast for Drunk GM. So if you guys haven't somehow heard about it, though I'm on his stuff all the time, we also have the GM table. So we'll catch you guys next time. And thanks again for you guys having us. Bye.
Thank you so much.